Healthy Scratch Red Wings Report, presented by 5v5hockey.com.
Yo, welcome back to the Healthy Scratch Red Wings Report. It's your boy Buschy with you once again. If you enjoy the content, leave a like, comment, subscribe on the video for more Red Wings content. Today, what I want to talk about is Moritz Seider. He's a restricted free agent coming up. How much is he going to get from the Red Wings and for how long? We've already went through this process with Lucas Raymond. Now, if you remember and you watched the video, what we did is we went through Cap Friendly and we looked at contract comparables, trying to select a player that we can look at and go, okay, who signed a long-term extension, who's a defenseman? And we're going to spit out a lot of players that either are the same age, signed for the same term, the same cap hit, and looking at their stats, we're very similar as well. We look at which ones really match, and then we go, okay, is this something that we're comfortable giving Moritz Seider? Now, Mo Seider is 22 years old right now. He has 0.56 points per game, 92 points over 164 games played. Now, a player that I immediately thought of when I was going, okay, who can I pick that's going to be comparable was Dallas Stars defenseman Miro Heiskanen. On your screen right now, you're going to see Miro Heiskanen at the top. That's the reference contract. He was 21 years old when he signed this deal a couple years ago. It was an 8-year contract. At the time, he was a 0.46 points per game player as a defenseman. He had 95 points over 205 games, which is a little more games than Mo Seider, and he signed for an 8.45 cap hit. Now, that's something where I went, okay, maybe I'd be comfortable with that, but what I want to do is look at some of the players that we compare him to and go, okay, is this something that we're willing to give Moritz Seider going forward, or do we bridge contract and we're to give him the 8 years? Now, there wasn't a ton of matches to Miro Heiskanen's contract. If you see the percentage match right next to the players' names, 86% was the top one, and that was Thomas Chabot of the Ottawa Senators. He signed an 8-year contract when he was 23 years old in 2019. Now, his points per game at the time were 0.59 points per game, which is pretty identical to Mo Seider, and he had 80 points in 134 games played. He signed an $8 million contract for 8 years, so that's something where I went, okay, that's a pretty good comparable for Mo Seider. Moving on to the next one, Charlie McAvoy. Now, he signed when he was 24 years old in 2021. He signed an 8-year contract. At the time, he had a 0.52 points per game, which is, again, pretty similar to Mo Seider's 0.56. He had 122 points in 235 games played. Now, he signed a $9.5 million contract with the Boston Bruins. It's a little higher cap hit than Thomas Chabot. The next one I'm looking at here is Mikhail Sergachev. Now, I don't think this one is really a great comparable for Mo Seider in a few ways. Now, number one, 25 years old, getting up there a little bit older. Now, he signed this last year. He's already, in my opinion, in his prime. He's probably going to be this type of player where he's like, they have Victor Hedman and then it's Sergachev. Now, he signed an 8-year deal. It was worth $8.5 million at the time, 0.48 points per game, so lower than Mo Seider. 170 points in 362 games played. So he's basically played double the amount of games that Moritz Seider has at that point when he signed that contract. That's why I don't think this one is going to be very realistic. Next one is Quinn Hughes. Now, we all know that Quinn Hughes is a purely offensive defenseman. That isn't what Mo Seider is. Mo Seider is more of a defensive guy. Now, he does chip in a lot of points. He only has 12 goals in his career. But we look at Quinn Hughes. He signed a 6-year contract at 21 years old in 2021. His points per game was 0.75, so very, very high compared to Seider, 97 points in 129 games played, and he signed for a 7.85 cap hit. So that's actually decently low, pretty good contract for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, the last two on this list are, in my opinion, elite defensemen. So Adam Fox, he signed when he was 24. It was in 2021. He had a 0.73 points per game, which is very similar to Quinn Hughes. He had 98 points in 134 games played, and he signed a $9.5 million cap hit. Now, that's one that's interesting. Quinn Hughes is 21, Adam Fox 24. The older you get, it looks like the more you're getting. And the last one, now, this might be one of the best defensemen in the league currently, is Cale Makar. In 2021, he signed a 6-year contract, $9 million a year. He had 94 points and 101 games played as a defenseman. That's insane. That's a 0.93 points per game. Now, looking at some of these comparables for Mo Seider, not as many specific fits like Lucas Raymond had when we did his video. But what we're kind of projecting here, just based on some of these players, the stats that they have, and obviously I know that some of these guys are definitely not the same type of defenseman as Mo Seider, but this is what Moritz Seider's agent, Claude Lemieux, he's going to do. He's going to go in and ask, well, here's the players that have kind of the same career arc. This is what we want for Mo Seider. What I would project for Mo would be an 8-year deal at $8.5 million. That's something that I would gladly sign. Technically, he's coming in under Dylan Larkin's 8.7. Now, I could see it going a little bit higher than that. I think a lot of people really get hung up over, well, they're not going to pay anybody more than Larkin. They're eventually going to have to, just based on the cap going up and some of these players actually being worth that much at the time. So it might even go up to $9 million for Mo Seider for 8 years. I'd be comfortable with 8.5. I'd be comfortable with 9. And the reality of the situation is 9.5% of the cap hit. That's kind of like where we're looking at. You look at that chart too. Shabbat was at 9.8% of the cap hit. McAvoy 11.6. Sergachev 10.3. Quinn Hughes 9.6. Adam Fox 11.6, and then Cale Makar was 11%. So like 9.5 is pretty low. So I could actually see it being, about a $9 million cap hit. Now I'm using these numbers based on that maybe the cap's going to go up $4 or $5 million. That's what I'm assuming this year. I'm not sure what the final number is going to be. We'll find that out next offseason. Moritz Seider, would you be okay with 8 years and $8.5 to $9 million to sign Moritz Seider? If not, tell me why in the comments. I think I made a pretty good point of this is what he's worth, and we should pay him. That's just the bottom line. We finally found a number one defenseman. He's not Nick Lidstrom, but he's the closest thing we've had to Nick Lidstrom since Lidstrom retired. And I mean, you can argue that Nick Cronwall was a true number one. I don't think he was at that point in his career. He certainly played well, and he stepped into that role, and I think it was just something where the team wasn't as good. They were going on that downslope, and the brunt of it was on him, where for most of his career before that, he was an awesome, solid second pair guy. But I think Mo Seider is the first legitimate number one defenseman we've had in a long time. You pay him to keep him. Guys, if you like that video, please comment, like, and subscribe. Really enjoying all the content that I've been making. Definitely do that. It helps out the channel. Really like going in and talking with you guys in the comments, so keep them coming. I love the debate. I'm never going to tell you you're wrong. I mean, I'm never always right either. So definitely leave a comment. Love chatting with you guys. We'll see you in the next one.